So for today's vocabulary, let's go to page 2. Today's article is about social media influencers on YouTube or Facebook. So page 2, number 1, to make your mark. When you make your mark on something, that means you did something that was kind of unprecedented or kind of maybe a huge accomplishment that's never been done before in that area. So you made your mark. Usually it's a positive thing. You can kind of leave your mark in a negative way, but it's not really, we don't really use it like that. But let's say, for example, that somebody in your community became very successful, and after they became successful, they started giving back to the community, and they started opening up community centers or parks, or giving money to people around the community. That person made their mark in the community. Like, what they did had helped a lot of people. If you work in sales and you become very successful one year, you bring in, a higher percentage of profit to your company, more than before, then you made your mark in sales for the company. The example for this one is actually quite good. If you make your mark in theater or in a performance, if somebody did so well in a movie that it's kind of iconic, they made their mark. I think a great example of that would be like Heath Ledger as Joker. A lot of people say that he made his mark as the Joker, right? There's almost no argument to that. Number 2, to take off. So normally when I imagine like something taking off, I imagine like a jet that's like flying away. It's going very fast and it's going up. So if you imagine that something is doing well and it's very successful, it's going very fast, like it's very quickly going up. So especially in sales. So if you're talking about like a new product, I think this year the newest product that's taking off is the AirBuds, the wireless earphones. I see, maybe, does anyone have one in this class?
Oh, yeah, I have one.
You have one, okay.
Yeah.
At least in every class that I have,
Yeah.
there's somebody that has it, so those are really taking off, I feel like. I feel like what I have with the wire is so, old-fashioned, and, see, people are going to judge me. So, number 3, swap. So when you swap something, that means you just kind of change things out. You can swap with somebody, you can swap pens, that's pretty simple. You can swap out a part, so if you're changing, if you're doing some maintenance on your car and you have to change something out, your tires, your old tires or something, you swap them out. So it's just like you change them out. Sometimes in the US we have this thing called a swap meet, and a swap meet is where people in the community go and meet together, meet up, and they bring things that are kind of valuable, goods or antiques, and then they just swap it. They just kind of trade. Number 4, envelop. So envelop, so it's spelled almost like envelope, but the end just goes up, right? So envelop is to kind of completely surround or cover something. The best way I can describe it is if there was a fire in a room, the whole room would be enveloped in smoke. So the smoke would just get around everything. That's when something is enveloped. Number 5, compartmentalize, is when you break things up into different parts or categories. It's very useful, especially for trying to organize something and trying to keep things kind of more easier to keep track of. You can compartmentalize. So also, when you pronounce this word, the second T is soft. Compartmentalize. It almost sounds like an N. Compartmentalize. So when you compartmentalize something, it's like you can do it in the workplace. You're trying, especially if it's if you imagine a startup suddenly starts growing quickly and they're doing really well and their company's growing quite large. They have to start compartmentalizing different areas of the company, different projects and things. Last, number 6, dense. So on the sheet it says compact, but I kind of disagree. It's more like you have a high saturation or a high concentration or a high volume or amount of something in a compact area or compact space. So, for example, Seoul's a great definition of a dense population, because in Seoul you have a lot of people who live in this area, and it's quite, it feels quite full. Whereas if you're talking about like Gangnam, like out on the East Coast, people are living a little bit more spread out, so it doesn't feel so dense. So the population in Seoul is quite dense. And those are your vocabulary.